Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to have you with me today. And we're going to be talking about cheating and lying. And man, I have had a week. I just want you to know this week has been full of situations that I have come up close and personal with, where I've been with very loving, caring people who are being sexually betrayed, and where I've actually been in the presence of someone who's lying right there, lying to them, lying to me, gaslighting them, gaslighting me. And it is just painful and treacherous and confusing to be a part of that. So I am coming with a heart that is full for you, a heart that wants to help you, a heart that wants to answer questions. And this stuff is hurtful, psychologically abusive when it comes to gaslighting and Darvo and all these things that are ways people use to cover up what they're doing. It's instinctive for them, and yet it really hurts our heart. So I've got a ton to talk about. We are going to be looking at he cheated, and just you all know that cheating, it can be either a man, a woman, it doesn't matter. It's any person who is cheating and lying and you're in an exclusive relationship with. There hasn't been consent for them to step outside of that, but they are stepping outside of that on a regular basis. So this talk is called He Cheated. Can I Ever Trust Again? I'm Dr. Sheri Keffer. It's been amazing to be with you over these last few weeks. I just want to say a quick hello to those of you in my Brave One community. I was just in there with some of our members this morning, and just doing a small meeting, and then I'm going to be with them today, looking at victories that we've just gone through a boundary challenge, and we're going to be, I'm just cheering them on, and we're going to be talking about the big steps that they've taken at applying the boundaries that I've been teaching them over these last weeks. If you didn't get a chance to watch it, last week I talked on sexual betrayal. This was on Friday, how to get the truth out of a liar. And this had to do with disclosures. And there was a ton of great questions that you guys asked me after the talk. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat, because I'd like to get to as many as I can today. And if you're watching me on Facebook, great, live. If you are watching me later on YouTube channel, Dr. Sheri Keffer is my YouTube channel. Some of you may have joined me, heard about me on Instagram, but a ton of you have said, hey, I get what you're talking about. I want more. I need more help. And you've signed up for my free workshop that's going to be coming up next week. It's soon. There's not too many more days to sign up. And I know I've been responding to those of you who are telling me about your biggest challenge. What are you most concerned about, frustrated with? But it's October 5th, next Wednesday. And I just want you to know I'm hearing you, seeing you, responding to you, care about you. My book is Intimate Deception, Healing the Wounds of Sexual Betrayal. Again, I'm a doctor of marriage and family therapy, been doing it for 24 years. I'm a certified sex addiction therapist, and I'm a supervisor as well. And I'm also a certified sex addiction therapist. So I have the benefit of working with both sides of the coin that can be so horribly painful. I've got a free download, so stay with me. We're going to be going into what do you need to see in safe people? What are the critical parts of safe people? And the download that I'm going to give you is going to be those things. So you won't want to miss this one today. Again, this is public. We're not in a private space. My workshop next week is going to be private, but today is public. So beware of that. If you want to ask me a question, you can do it anonymously, or you can private message me on Facebook, and I'll have my team bring it to me. Again, he cheated. Can I ever trust again? I want to just say thank you before we jump in to many of you that are spreading the word. in your recovery groups or with those closest to you about my workshop that's coming up. It's called Sexual Betrayal. You have the right to say enough is enough. I know that there is a plan to say enough is enough. And often we don't know what that is. So it's going to be a special event. It's not going to be on Facebook Live. It's not going to be on YouTube. It's different. But I'm going to be showing you things that aren't in my book. And it really has come out of the thousands of conversations that I've had with us. Like I've told you about this week, I've been meeting with couples and seeing stuff that just is a waste of time, money, resources, where they're having a hard time getting traction. And I just told someone today, I this is how I work and this is how I can help you get to where you need to get. And I think when it makes sense to us, when we realize the reason behind what I'm asking for, not to collude with deception, not to have therapists not talking to each other. Secrecy is so hidden. And so my workshop is going to help you understand and know what you need to stop the crazy acting out that's going on, right? And help you get on the right path. I know what doesn't work. I know what does. And so if you're interested, just go to braveone.com/join workshop. It's brave.com/join workshop. And you're going to get a special invitation where we'll give you a link. I'll send you an email and say, okay, you're in. You get the thumbs up from me. And then even another gift from me just for signing up. If you're watching on YouTube right now, guess what? I want you to be there next Wednesday, October 5th. Again, just go to braveone.com, braveone.com/ and just join workshop, JOINWORKSHOP, and that'll take you right there. October 5th, save the date. I'm doing it twice that day. I'm going to be doing it at 12 noon and 7 p.m. Pacific time. All right. And you can come one meeting, you can come both meetings, both workshops, whatever you want to do, because I'll be answering questions in both places. So again, the questions are going to be different material, and you learn a lot. Last Friday, when I was answering all those questions, a couple of you were commenting in the chat section saying, I learned so much in this last hour just through the chat, the conversation, and the question answering. And so again, it's called Sexual Betrayal. You have the right to say enough is enough. Let's jump in to today to the material. He cheated. Can I ever trust again? Since I started doing these Facebook talks, there's a ton of questions about trust and wondering how and if I can ever trust again. That is a very common question. I know I was talking to one woman and she said that her therapist had told her when she started bringing up what was going on, just give him space. And he just needs some space right now. Only to find out that her husband had been paying for sex and got somebody pregnant. Like, again, that happens. And so a well-meaning therapist can say what they think might be best, but they don't know that there's things being hidden. And we are in a situation where we can't trust him. You know, we don't want to trust someone who is being sexually reckless. Is there hope? Yes, of course. But let me say this, it depends. It depends if the one who's betraying you and has been betraying you is willing to do the hard work of recovery, you know, for them to come clean. Are they willing to do it or not? So today's talk is on trust and what happens when I can't trust him. What happens when maybe you believe that all men are doing this and I can't trust anybody, right? These are common beliefs that we have when we've experienced sexual betrayal. So first, let me take a look and share with you what healthy trust is, how it gets started, and what it looks like in our lives. Bottom line is we're actually designed, made, created for trust, connection, and love. Our very first experiences of attachment and trust begin with those primary caretakers, somewhere between the ages of 0 and 2 years of age. Every single one of us, before you could even talk, you asked yourself in your mind 2 simple questions. And this happens for 100% of the human race. You ask yourself these 2 things. Number 1 is, am I lovable, worthy of being loved? Or 2, I should say, can I count on others? Will they be there when I really need them? Right? Can I put my full weight down on them? If you think back to growing up, just float back for a second and think back to how you connected in your family. And I want you to ask yourself these 5 questions about connection in your family of origin. Number 1, was your home a safe place to be? So just ask yourself, was my home a safe place to be? Number 2, when you were in distress, were you comforted? Did someone comfort you, care for you, come alongside of you? Number 3 is, were there moments where you noticed that someone delighted in you, someone enjoyed you, somebody cared for you, you knew you were wanted, you knew you mattered? Number 4, how much time was actually devoted to connection and conversation and care in your home? Think about it maybe on a weekly, how many minutes, how many hours do you think time was devoted to intentional connection? And number 5, were there reassuring hugs or a voice, a parent that would hold your hand when you were stressed, or just come up and, just say, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. That sounds so painful. Someone that was there to see you when you needed them the most. Now, here's another question. How do you see yourself and your spouse or significant other answering these questions? So the ones I just asked with you, how would you imagine them answering the questions? And your answers may give you clues to how safe it was to be emotionally vulnerable, or to trust others, or to connect with others. There's a Jewish philosopher that I respect. His name is Martin Buber, and he was a writer and a sage, and he's really, really wise. And he introduced an idea that I could relate to. When I first heard this, I thought it's so simple, and I just love simple concepts. But these 2 simple concepts are so relatable. And this is the idea he brought forward, is when you're talking about connection and how other people relate to you, the concept is either I, it, or I, thou. So I either connect with you as an it, or I connect with you as a thou. Now, that doesn't need a lot of explanation, right? There's not a human being in the world that wants to be connected to as an it. There's not a pet that wants to be connected to as an it. And when we either become an object, an it to somebody else, or we make other people it's by objectifying them, it's dehumanizing, and it hurts the very essence of who we are as human beings. From the very moment you were born, right? You long to be an I, thou. It's in the fiber of who we are. And we want to be emotionally felt. We want to matter. We want to know that we're seen. What does it mean then to trust? One of my very first jobs was to be a bank teller. I actually worked at a large chain, Wells Fargo Bank, learned a ton about money, a ton about banking, and it was good training for me. In the very beginning, we took some classes where they had us actually spend a whole weekend, 3 days, working with real money. And this is what I learned. They had us taking $100 bills, like they would give us the real dough. It's like, wow, you rarely get to hold one of these, but gave us $100 bill. And when you look at it, there's a security ribbon, if you can see it right there, that is woven into the paper. And if you look at it, there's 3D Liberty Bell moves, and the $100, the 100 moves. There's things that are woven in. If you can hold it up to the light, you can see Franklin's face, and then you hold it up and the Franklin is embedded in the paper. Now, why did they have us work with real money? Right? Why did they have us hold it up and look for the watermark of Franklin? Right? It should exactly match that bill. And even they had us feel it, because the raised printing on Franklin's shoulder, if you hold a bill and you just do this, just take it, and you just take your finger and rub along Franklin's shoulder, it's difficult to reproduce that, and counterfeiters can't do it. By getting to know the real thing is when we know when something isn't matching up to the real thing. If you have any questions, feel free to start putting them in the comments, because I'd love to be able to get to you. The 3 biggies of trust. I'm going to go through and tell you what are the 3 must-haves. Number 1 is trust requires 2 people. Both partners have to be open, transparent, and vulnerable. Trust can't be built if only one partner is willing to be committed, is willing to be trustworthy, and the other one isn't. It's impossible. Number 2 is trust is 2 people who are counting on each other, like being there for each other. Like, I've got your back. And I'm not just talking about being there physically or financially or even sexually, but emotionally too. And then in the idea of this, does your partner listen to you? Are they concerned about your worries? Are they concerned about your fears? When you're hurting, are they listening to you? Do they have a heart for you and what's happening? Do they generally care about you? I know I just asked somebody this week to define care, what the definition of care was, because caring was not happening in the relationship. When somebody is sexually acting out, that's not care, right? And can you depend on them to be there on time in other things, after work, or are they missing, or is there time away? Are there weekends away? Are they living away from you and not telling you where they are? Like, trust is consistently having your back. And trust means that your partner won't react in a way that threatens your safety or that harms you. Like, are the boundaries that you've defined, are they being respected? Like, boundaries have to do with being reliable, being accountable, having integrity, and so much more. This is a little tip off to my free download. I really want you to get these things, because when we know the real thing, just like a $100 bill, when we know what we're looking for, it helps us to decipher what's happening and what's not working. And number 3 is trust means we say what we mean and mean what we say. So trust is when our words and our behaviors match. If they don't match, if somebody is telling you they love you, but they're acting out at the same time in some way, they're not matching. And I always tell people, trust their behavior, not their words, if they're in deception. So inconsistency happens when we say one thing and then we do something very much different, right? That's why our trust and the relationship is so deeply impacted by betrayal and the relationship trauma that comes, and attachment trauma that happens when the one closest to us betrays us. The active betrayal trauma is somebody is actually being unfaithful. They're being unfaithful to you. If you're a spouse or significant other, when there's actually been a commitment to an exclusive fidelity, to exclusive relationship, to be faithful to you. In most wedding ceremonies, right, the couple actually makes a vow or a promise to forsake all others and to not pursue others, to meet their emotional needs, physical needs, sexual needs, right? That's a commitment. That secures the trust. That's saying, you can trust me. I'll be here. I'll protect you. A violation of trust occurs when your spouse or significant other uses deception, is acting out, uses manipulation, uses gaslighting, puts the blame on you while they're acting out or why they have acted out. And they're actually putting more time, more emotional energy, sexual energy, resources, sometimes financial resources into any other entity, such as emotional or sexual affairs, pornography, cyber sex, hookups, flirting, sexting, massage parlors, prostitutes, strip clubs, child pornography, any kind of sexual fetish, cross-dressing, or undisclosed relationships with the same sex. Sexual betrayal happens when the person who holds trust, who you want to, and they've said in the beginning, you can trust me, but now that person is behaving in a very different way. And they withhold trust and they withhold truth from you. They're not willing to come clean, and they lie to deceptively protect a whole separate world that they've created for themselves. Betrayal is a deliberate act of disloyalty, and they are intending to hide or to cheat because they don't want you to know what's going on, and that's why it breaks your trust. It's not to be minimized. It's not to be ignored. We have to walk right into it. I know I showed y'all this in one of my other talks, but I have a real grenade. It's been detonated, right? I mean, not detonated, but the inside's been taken out of it. And what happens is that person is closest to us basically throws the grenade into the foxhole of your relationship, your family. You're bleeding out, your kids are bleeding out, and sadly, some of your kids are the ones to find out about the acting out, about the sexual acting out, whatever it is. And what happens is it basically, on the opposite side of this grenade is a heart. It blows your heart up. Your kids are heartbroken. They're confused. And everybody scrambles in a ton of pain, right? And it's just so harmful. I watch families hemorrhage out. And what happens when we're hurting is we pull away in an attempt to protect ourselves from the one who's hurting us. And they don't know what to do with the one who's betrayed, with your emotions, with your kids' emotions, about the betrayals. And so they work very hard to lie about them so that it doesn't actually become a reality, right? Because then that would disclose a lot to them. And they can be with you. You can be hurting and crying, and they don't understand why you don't want to hug them or don't want to hold their hand or don't want to be an us or don't want to just pretend like everything's okay. They spiral in their own shame and they become focused in on themselves instead of your rejection. And so you're looking for safety and assurance, and they're stuck in trying to protect themselves. And honestly, some of them are sexually entitled and they're choosing to protect themselves. They know what they're doing. I know that's the hardest part. Now that I've actually worked with those that are serial cheating or, sexually acting out in some capacity, they're smart. They get up, they have to go to work, they have to live a life, just like putting their pants on. They know how to put their pants on and go to work or pay bills. But you know what? They know that they're acting out too. And so there's this huge gap between knowing what they did when they threw that grenade into the foxhole and knowing what they need to do to help you heal. And for him, it can feel like an impossible divide, like the Grand Canyon, like too big, right? The shame about what he's done makes him want to hide. And that's why they minimize. Like, but I want you to know what has happened to you is traumatic. In fact, the research points to it as acute stress and post-traumatic stress. Like, how did this happen? Why didn't I see it until now? Who can I tell? Are all the things that come up when we find out. And you basically just ask yourself, like, I thought I knew who I was married to, and I thought I could trust this person with our family. What will people think about him if they know? What will our kids think? And can I ever trust them again? 96% of us in my research that I did said, after what my partner has done, I feel like it's hard to trust anyone. Okay. That's almost 100%. So if you're in that position right now, just know it's okay. You're in the normal bell curve. It's very normal to feel that way. I was completely shocked 5 months into our marriage when I saw a huge charge on a credit card. And it was on a credit card statement that was sitting on Connor's desk. And as I looked closer at it, because I was like, why, what did that much money go to? I noticed that the date on the charge was February 13th. Now my heart dropped. That's Valentine's weekend. We were newlyweds. And I thought, are you kidding me? What happened? I didn't get a big gift. Like, what is this? And I thought, that's the weekend that for the first time ever, I decorated our tiny little apartment and I put red hearts all over the walls. I, for the first time ever, cooked Cornish game hens. Never had done that before. And then I actually surprised him with hot pink lingerie at the front door. It didn't matter what I did, what I cooked, or what I wore. It was never enough. When all that came down, it takes me back to the time when we were dating and we had just gotten engaged. And Connor told me that he called a 900 line, and I didn't even know what that was. Back in the day, a 900 line was a phone sex line. And I really wanted to believe that that sex call was a one-time event, right? I thought forgiveness, love, meeting his sexual needs in marriage, having Valentine's weekends like I did, right, would be enough to take care of the problem. I believed that our love was enough. But you know what? It wasn't a marriage problem. I was wrong. It was a problem of sexual acting out. And part of the problem was that I grew up in a home that had a broken view of trust. And I trusted very easily, right? When I would meet somebody, I would just give them my trust. It's like kind of giving them $100 bill, like until they gave me a reason not to trust. And I actually would give more than $100 bill. I would, it's like I'd empty my whole bank account. And I had it backwards. I think in some way I felt like giving too much was tied into my deep need for love and acceptance that I was so hungry for. So I overgave in order to get what I was looking for. Now, overgiving might seem like that makes sense or a great idea, but what I discovered is it didn't work. I kept giving Connor the benefit of the doubt. I fluctuated between not looking, between denial, just putting my hands over my eyes, and enabling. And so a couple of months later, after Valentine's Day came, there was another hefty bill. This time for phone sex. It didn't matter what I did. I was hurting. Connor and I talked about the other thing, but the sexual acting out just continued. And that's when I absolutely shut down. I just went into numb. I disconnected. I realized that my life had become really unsafe. And I, over time, stepped into what is called learned helplessness. It's when you're in a victim state. Like I just let go of the steering wheel of my life and our marriage, and things got worse. My dream of what we had, what Connor and I had in our marriage life early on, all of that was shattered. And I felt so helpless. Like I didn't know how to stop what was going on. And I couldn't change, even when I was crying and confronting him. Like, so for a period of time, as a coping strategy, as trying to get through the next day, I just stopped looking. I stopped asking Connor questions. And I just didn't want to see what was going on. It's like in some way, I was keeping the secret from myself. Like, and when I think about it now, it was no different than getting into the car with someone who's driving recklessly, driving off the road, like going on the edge of a cliff. I just got into that car every day. I lost heart. I lost trust in myself. I lost my voice. I lost my courage. And I didn't ask. So I want to be clear about two things with you. And if any of this is resonating with you, I just want to share two things that I think are really important. Being in a relationship with someone who is actively sexually acting out is one thing. Being in a relationship with someone who is working to establish sobriety and relational safety for you by repairing the trust is quite another. Those are two different situations. And I want you to know, what do we need to be looking for? Two must-haves. One is humility in his recovery. Humility. It's a telltale sign. Is he humbling down? And the second thing is honesty. Is he being honest with himself, with you, your kids, people they work with? Is there honesty there? Now, these are necessary signs that your husband or significant other is actually working on their sobriety and creating safety for you, a safe environment that's aimed at repair and rebuilding trust. Next week, October 5th, at my workshop, You Have the Right to Say Enough is Enough. You know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be bringing 8 signs. What I think, these are 2, but I'm going to be bringing all 8, that things that when you want to know if real change is happening, I'm going to tell you then what they are. And it's critical that we know these. Dr. John Gottman, he is a researcher, and he researched betrayed couples and found that they were 3 things, like 3 things that are must-haves in order to revive trust, in order to repair trust. And they're attune, atone, and attach. So let me go through. And the order is really atone, attune, and attach, if you think about it, because atone means to own it, to own the hurt, to own what they've done wrong, to own the injury, and to repair, work towards repair in order to restore the wrong that's been done in order to make it right. So we can't attach until we atone, right? Now, let me explain what it looks like. If they make it about you, right? The one who's been betrayed, if they minimize it, if they say it didn't happen, if they become the victim, and then somehow go back and touch something that we did wrong in order to explain something away, that's not atonement, right? If they try to convince you that you are not sexual enough in your relationship and whatever you didn't do right, that there was conflict in your family, they're not atoning, they're defending. If they say that, they're just looking at pornography because you weren't doing enough in the marriage, or they expect you to get over it, or they want you to quickly forgive them, or they tell you that there's something wrong with you because you're angry, that's not atonement. What it is they're blaming, they're gaslighting, they're lying, they're covering up a porn addiction, they're covering up a sex addiction, they're covering up serial cheating and the hurt that happens to you because of that. And they might even try to get your kids on their side. They might spiritualize what they're doing, right? But no, they need to own it. And the quicker that they own it, the quicker we heal and the quicker they heal. Now, attunement is different. Attunement is feeling emotionally connected. So atone is owning it. Attuning is how we feel bonded or connected to somebody. Now, if somebody's acting out, they're not going to be attuned to you. You're going to feel disconnected most of the time. Now, sometimes there's people that act out that you will feel like are very attuned to you, but they're attuned to other people as well. Sadly, you're just one of the many places they get, they emotionally, sexually act out. Now, attach. I know this makes so much sense, right? You can't attach or bond well if we haven't done what's needed to atone. You have to own the incredible pain that they've caused for the sexual acting out. This means not lying, right? And that betraying spouse, actually, they got to do the heavy lifting in order to bear the burden of the breach of trust. They've got to take responsibility and they can't fake it. Like, it's not a box to be checked. It's not a counseling session to go to. It can't be bought. When they're actually connected to you and they're working and they're in a sobriety place, like, there's empathy that can come. And if they don't know how to be empathic with what's happened, they can learn how to do that. But it comes by putting themselves in your shoes. And they have to do that. They've got to feel their own feelings about how they hurt you. And that takes time. It takes honesty and recovery. And it can be incredibly tough for both people. But it's amazing when I see couples go through it that they can actually restore even painful things, infidelities that have happened. But it's got to be felt and consistent. It's got to be authentic, and we know when it is and when it isn't. We can tell. And when we are intimately connected with each other and we're willing to repair the breach of trust, that shows a lot for their recovery journey and their sobriety. Now, so many times along this path, I've had to be kind to myself, right? I've had to say, hey, just be kind to you. It takes time to work through all this. There's highs and lows. It feels like a moving target, right? And we have been, right? You have been a victim of sexual betrayal, porn addiction, sex addiction, serial cheating. It's like a moving target. And you have been a victim of that. And as we experience that, our brain wires in a negative belief in order to protect us along the way. And these beliefs sound like this: I can't trust anyone, right? When I did my work, did my trauma work, I realized that I can't trust anyone became trust is earned. I can choose whom to trust. I don't have to just give away $100 bills. And I'm particularly not going to give a $100 bill away to someone who's stealing money from me, right? Or acting out. Another one that got wired in is I can't trust myself. I lost trust in my own self, my gut, my ability to know what was true because of all the deception with Connor. As I did my work, I can't trust myself became I was duped. Think about it. I want you to just hear that for a second. If you have the belief that I can't trust myself, if you think about what's really true is you were duped. So there's some critical things about safe people. And it comes from somebody who is a shero of mine, a wise sage that I love her work. And if you go to my website, I'm going to put it in the chat right now. It's braveone.com/braving. So just put that in, braveone.com/braving, BRAVING. We're going to put it in the chat section as well. But if you're on, YouTube later, you get the same resource source. It's my free gift just for being here today. And some of you may jumped in a few minutes late. If you did, I just want to invite you, because there's not too many days left, to my free workshop that's coming up next week, October 5th. It's called Sexual Betrayal. You have the right to say enough is enough. It's a special event. It's not going to be public. It's going to be private, because I want to be able to talk to you and answer questions that you have in a private space. It's come out of my work with thousands of conversations, and I don't know how many hundreds of hours, hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of hours with those who are sexually acting out and in the coupleship. And we spend so much time chasing this stuff and not getting clear direction. And I want to give you clear direction. I want to be able to answer your questions and give you specific help. I know what we need. I know what works best. And that just comes out of, seeing it work with a lot of people. But I want to give you what I believe can help you most quickly heal and your relationship come out of this crazy making. I know it works and doesn't. So hopefully join me. It's October 5th, next Wednesday. There's just a few days left to sign up. And you're going to get to hear the gold standard. I'm going to be talking about that during my talk. But if you're interested, just go to braveone.com/join workshop. It's braveone.com/JOINWORKSHOP. You're going to get a special link, an email from me that says you're in, and a VIP pass to my private event. Would love to have you there. And again, I'll let you know I got your email that you're in, and I look forward to seeing you. I'm going to be doing it twice that day, 12 p.m. Pacific time and 7 p.m. Pacific time. You can come to one, you can come to both. Again, sexual betrayal. You have the right to say enough is enough. And if you're feeling like enough is enough and you're wearified by all this, I want you to join me. Just come and listen and see if there's anything there that I'm sharing with you that will make sense, that might work in your life. Now, if you found today's talk helpful, this Friday, there's more. I have more for you. This Friday, which is September the 30th at 9:30. So 9:30 at 9:30, September 30th, this is going to be a new time Friday morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. And it's called Betrayal, How to Trust Your Gut When He Lied Again. Like, this is about trusting yourself, how we can repair trust in who we believe we are and our gut, and instinctively what we can do in order to become better, more thoughtful, clearer. I always say clarity is kindness. Clear with ourselves about what's going on. I have so many people come to me, and one of the top questions I get when it comes to trusting myself is, am I ever going to be able to trust my intuition again? And I'm like, yes, you can. You can get your intuition back. But when there's a lot of gaslighting and psychological abuse and something called Darvo, it spins you out and you become very foggy and foggy-headed, and you don't trust yourself. So hopefully something I shared with you today has been helpful. And in the meantime, take care of yourself, and look forward to caring for your heart again very, very soon.